welcome to Your Wisdom Matters, a forum for sharing wisdom from a variety of sources around the world in service to the greater good. And today I am so excited to have Deb and Brandon Yager from Yager Training. So welcome, Deb and Brandon.
Thank you, Olivia.
Thank you. We're honored to be here.
Thanks for having us.
My pleasure. So founded by Deb and Brandon is Yager Training. It's a premier NLP and growth training company based in Austin, Texas, and it serves clients internationally. It helps businesses transform by transforming their people who work with them to become their most confident and capable selves. And today, Yager Training has helped over 2,000 professional coaches and entrepreneurs and professionals unlock the powers, sparking shifts that have led to six-figure deals, consistent five-figure months, and entirely new businesses. And that's what's happening to me. So I'm so excited. Just let me give you a little bit about how I got involved. Starting earlier this year, at a request of my daughter to just go take this NLP training, I thought, oh, that'll be fun. And I ended up taking several trainings. The most recent one, I am a master certified NLP, hypnosis, and quantum time technique. And I've done a lot of training in my long life, starting with EST in 1975. But what Deb and Brandon teach is by far the most transformational work I've ever done. So I really am excited to share it with you today. And we're going to talk a little bit about how you can participate at the end of the interview. But I want to ask you guys, so NLP is so powerful in a lot of ways. Today, I want to focus on how it can help a small business. So what is it that NLP can do to help me build my business?
Well, for starters, it's all about empowerment and getting control of your state and getting control of your mindset.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, what holds people back from really being successful in business is their limiting beliefs, their negative emotions that are trapped at the unconscious level from the past, aka trauma or past wounding or past experiences where we, quote unquote, what we perceive as failure.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's also the motivation to go out there. And then also when we talk about business owners and entrepreneurs, it's very, very important to have a failure strategy and a success strategy, and being able to handle rejection and being able to, when you go out and make mistakes or you invest in something that's not working, to be able to take the feedback, learn from it very quickly, and then pivot in a new direction. And so a lot of times people sabotage themselves. They want to get into business for themselves because they're tired of being in the corporate world, or they're tired of working for someone else, but then they get a little bit of failure out there, or maybe they lose a little bit of money, or they get a little bit of rejection or quote unquote failure, and then they end up retreating back to the safety and security.
It's all about flexibility.
It is. It
It's
is.
getting flexible with our business, our behavior,
our mind,
our customers, our family, our friends, everyone around us.
Because NLP is really the process of how to retune, reprogram your mindset for success.
It's how we decode what's going on in our mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's all the things we see, we hear, we taste, we smell, we think about. All of that package really makes up our reality and helps us create our goals.
It's also the process of excellent communication. It breaks down the code of communication. And if you know, just like we know in business, the number one thing that drives the business is sales.
Sales.
And if you're not able to go out and inspire and lead and motivate and enroll people into your ideas,
influence
the
process of sales.
Exactly. If you're not able to do that because maybe you're not great at communication, it's going to end up sabotaging your business. And then there's the other aspect of when you're growing your business and scaling, bringing on the key players to your team, and then how do you delegate, and how do you get your vision out of your mind and into their mind successfully so they can do what you're doing. So there's all these different components. And the last part of it is the reprogramming piece. So it gives you a body of knowledge and tools and techniques that you can utilize to go and reprogram your behavior, because your behavior will get you results, whether it's the result of what you want or the result of what you don't want. So there's a lot of content. I mean, NLP is like really, really heavy in content
And
that will create success.
I was actually reading an article this morning, Olivia, and there was an article I was reading about 86% of business owners in America will never hire someone or get out of their own way to scale their company. And that was an interesting stat, and it kind of hit home. And I was thinking about that this morning, and I was like, that'd be a great thing to talk about, because the fear that so many business owners have, and I know we're going to talk more about this, but the fear, the anxiety, the doubt, the limitations that many entrepreneurs put on themselves, it really starts, and that's really what happens inside. And so it's interesting, is like most business owners never get off the ground because they're too afraid to hire someone, get out of their own way, and really scale their company.
Let go of the control.
Let go of control.
Yeah.
That's
It's one of the hardest things.
That's what we help business owners do
for people
through these tools and techniques,
which we know because we did it ourselves, and we also made a lot of mistakes along the way. And so another thing that we bring to the body of knowledge of NLP, we're not just teaching NLP. NLP for us is a lifestyle, it's a body of knowledge, it's a philosophy that we live by, but we're also sharing our own personal business experience of how we've grown and scaled our business. And that's the key, because there's a lot of other schools out there that teach purely NLP, which is really, really powerful for coaching, for modeling excellence, going inside of an organization to create success. But the problem is they're not really teaching people how to make money. And so that is one of the things that we really bring to the table, is how do you monetize your business? How do you monetize your gift that you truly want to do? And why are you here in this world? What is your life's purpose?
The secret sauce.
The secret sauce. And then how do you go out and make money doing that, but also making an impact? We talk about profit with impact. And so that's one of the things that we stand by.
That's so great. There's so many questions I have now, especially because I'm getting to the point where I know I need to hire somebody, and I have all that resistance, the same kinds of things, like I can do it better myself, but of course I can't be doing everything. I can't grow, like you said, that statistic. It just feels so right, because I'm afraid if I get somebody, they'll make a mistake, or I don't know, it's hard. Like you said, translating the vision, that is so important. So I do want to ask though, because it's just funny what you were saying about making money. I'm in a spiritual community. I know you guys are also spiritual seekers, and there's a belief out there that it's not spiritual to make money. Can you speak to that a little bit, or to charge, what we're worth? So I'd love you to talk about that.
What an unspiritual thing to say.
Exactly.
We actually created an entire training around this, because it's so very important for people to understand that, if, from my perspective, spirituality is usually, of course, it's connection to source, but it's also the process of getting to know your true self. And part of that evolutionary process is to lean in to things that you most reject many times. And so it's really, really paradoxical and funny, and it tickles us to death, because we believe that most spiritual people, the one thing that actually will bring spirituality to their life is actually learning how to manage and create money.
And flexibility with emotions and behavior. It's really ultimate emotional intelligence, and getting so flexible with people. You ultimately know how to build rapport at the unconscious level. And that's like what Deb said, it's the spiritual journey of going through this process. And spirituality is a nominalization, right? It's this process. What does it mean to be spiritual? And it's frozen in time. And so we help people put that spirituality back into a process and realize that your business is the spiritual process that you've sought out to go after.
What we see in our society as a whole, it's so funny. We talked about this in our 3-day business training, that the 3 most triggering words for the majority of humans in at least America is sales, money, and then sex, which from our perspective, those 3 words all bring spirituality. Because the interesting, okay, let's talk about money. So money allows us to then go back and give impact to the world. For an example, if you have a thriving business, and we're talking about people that are making money with integrity, ecology. What does that mean? The study of consequences. And are they selling something that's actually making a difference in the world for humanity as a whole, but also for the environment? So we're taking that into the consideration. So the more money that you make by serving others, because sales is just service and service is sales, then you are actually doing a spiritual transaction. Then also the sales portion from the perspective of us is that when you reject sales, it's so interesting. It is the most powerful thing that you can engage in to first and foremost, look at your own projections. I'm sure everybody here understands perceptions projection, as above, so below. Well, the sales container in itself will literally bring out your deepest, darkest fears, your worries, your doubts, the fear of rejection, the fear of asking for what you want.
Worry.
Yes.
Concerns.
And then also talking about money for a lot of people gets brought up into that container. And so there's so many opportunities for us to lean into our shadow parts and integrate them right in the sales conversation. Plus, if you are selling something that makes an impact, you're also serving the client. For an example, I would not be here today if I didn't have 2 trainers of NLP come into my life when I was at rock bottom, because I was a dancer, a stripper, and I also was a drug user, and I'd been doing it for over 16 years, and I didn't believe I could have anything else. I believed that I was unworthy and I was destined to fail. And if they hadn't come into my life at that time, I probably would not be alive today. So if you're in the world of coaching, if you're in the world of impact, influence, inspiration, motivation, then that sales conversation is probably saving somebody's life at a deeper level.
And really, it's just support. Sales is support. It's customer service. Service is sales, and sales is service. And so if you're one of those people where, maybe you're watching this and you're saying, well, I really want to help people. I want to be a coach, or maybe you already are, but I don't really care about money. The thing is, those two go hand in hand. Mm-hmm. You'll be able to help more people when you have more money.
Exactly. When you grow your business, you're able to employ more people and have entrepreneurship within the organization to inspire and lead and come up with creative ideas that we can make an impact and change the way that the world is going, change the universal timeline. Also, you can give back and serve. You can serve with time. You can also serve with finances to organizations that are actually making a difference.
Yep.
Like going abroad, one of the projects
and
that we're involved in Africa.
Africa, yeah. And if money is your thing, maybe it's donating time, right? And energy. If you have lots of energy and time, but you don't have money, maybe donating money would be your thing. Mm-hmm. At least your spiritual evolution.
And then also the thought of that everything in this world right now, from our perspective, is because of a sale. Think about it. You get this amazing thought or idea that will transform the world. It's your job to go out and use your mouthpiece, your communication tool, to go out and to inspire, to get funding, to then get the project launched. There is no difference. So we believe it is a spiritual transaction, because you're taking an idea, a thought, something, and then creating it into, or taking something out of nothing,
turning into something,
and creating it into something.
Yeah.
And so sales is the vehicle for that. And then also sex, of course, that's one of those most triggered words. And if you really go down the rabbit holes of esoterics and everything else, you'll find out that it is a spiritual.
That's another training.
Yeah, that's another training.
And it's that power center in the body, right? So
exactly.
It's good to have that going for us, whether it's, that's fascinating. There's one other part to the asking for money that I'd love to hear your thoughts on, which is, I always feel like I'm dishonoring the person if I don't charge them. In other words, you could say, well, I'm just not going to charge very much because they need it. But do you feel like it serves them more if they actually pay a higher amount sometimes?
I mean, so I'll tell you a story about a coach that I hired after I'd been in real estate for almost 6 years. I got into real estate at 18, so I was pretty young, pretty new to entrepreneurship, but I had some great mentors around me, my grandfather specifically, my brother, and I was just hitting this ceiling, in my business. And I had agents working with me, and I was trying to figure out how to get wealthy, how to make money, right? How to communicate, how to be a manager, a leader to my team. And she stretched me. She said, Brandon, this coaching is going to cost $25,000. And I'm like, whoa, I have no idea. Or I didn't have any idea where or how I was going to get the money, because I was like, I've got payroll, I've got bills, I've got expenses, I've got an office lease, all these things. Yeah. And it's the first thing we think about. I don't have the money, or I don't think it's worth it, or it's too much. And the thing is I figured out how to get it by really focusing and total determination, because I knew that if I could hire this coach and she can help me break through and figure out business systems and a lot of other things that I never even knew I was going to sign up for. But when I found the money, there was no greater earnership in hiring her as my coach, because I thought I was getting real estate coaching. Lo and behold, she's highly trained in NLP. And she said, Brandon, your business is fine. Your business is really not the problem. She's like, you're the problem. You're the problem in your business. And it was the first time I'd had somebody really smack me upside the head and wake me up to how unconscious my own patterns and behaviors had been. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing about a coach, a really great coach, a great training. You know, when you can invest in yourself, you get so much more out of it because of that ownership.
Yes. And if he hadn't gotten coaching from her, then he wouldn't have signed up for the
trainings that I took.
And we wouldn't have met. And then we wouldn't be influencing and supporting and facilitating and creating the avenue for people to transform. And so I absolutely believe in the ideology. And this is something that we tell our coaches after they come through the practitioner training and in our business breakthrough training, we tell people to raise their rates. And this is also a spiritual meme that goes around. It's like everybody should have transformation or spirituality, which we agree. And when it's inside the coaching container, it's very, very important to charge the person the amount, not for you. I mean, it's important to get paid what you're worth. Energetically, the cause and effect, the exchange of energy. It's very important to fill yourself up with the exchange of energy and money. And it's also for the client. When you discount your rate, you discount their transformation.
You discount their growth.
You discount their ownership. You discount the cause and effect. So everything in the universe, like the energy that you put out in the universe, comes back the same amount of energy. So if somebody puts in a discount, or if they get like, let's say that the coaching is normally $25K and you discount it because you have money blocks, your own shadow parts. That's why sales is so cool, because all of our stuff comes up to the surface. So if you don't lean into that conversation, if they say, I don't have the money, and you don't perceive that they can figure it out, that they are capable of creating anything that they want in their life, anything they desire, you're actually putting your own money blocks onto the client. You're also limiting their transformation.
You're already damming the flow.
You're damming the flow of abundance, prosperity. So in the place that we first heard about this, at least I did, I studied the Kabbalah for a while when I was going through a spiritual journey, and they talk about something that's called bread of shame. And basically, in a nutshell, it explains just that. It's that if you do stuff or enable someone, you're actually giving them shame, because you're enabling them in that pattern and you're not supporting them in their greatness. Mm-hmm. And so by charging what it's worth to the client to solve AKA problem, is your responsibility. And so it's absolutely not spiritual from this perspective to discount.
No, it's not.
And of course, there's always rules to it. I mean, don't make it a rule for everything and generalize it and make it a far extreme. And it's case by case. The majority of the people do not charge what they're worth because of their own limitations, and it's actually limiting the client.
And I'll just say this: if you're one of those people that really, maybe you're watching this and you're saying, I always have people come up to me with objections around, oh, why do you charge so much? Or can I get a discount? Mm-hmm. And then the thing is about that, it's all about language. It's all about reframing how somebody thinks about money. And if you're one of those people that it's looking for more reframes or more, ways to handle objections and just obliterate the way people think about your pricing model, then you should probably definitely check out one of our trainings.
Yes, because linguistic jujitsu is what we teach. Because if you get objections, I mean, that's what sales is. It's being able to handle objections.
Yes.
We also teach it from a frame of that it's coaching. The whole process is the sales cycle. You're actually coaching the client through their own limitations, their belief systems that they can't have what they want, or they're not capable, or the scarcity mindset of the client. So it's a really beautiful container and process.
Oh, thank you. It's a great time too, I think, to share. When I took the 3-day business, you gave us a list of words that just to see if we had any issues. And I had always rejected sales. I always avoided jobs with sales. And if I ever had to take them, I hated them. So here I was now and I wanted to support my daughter, right? She wanted to learn more about sales. So I'm in your training and you gave us a list of words. And the last word on the list was sales closing. And when I read it, I got this knot in my stomach. And I've done lots of energy clearing work for 30 years. So I was really sort of surprised that this came up so strongly. So I immediately did the process that I'm used to doing, which now quantum time technique just magnifies so beautifully, where I went back to when I was 5. My father died, and immediately my mother went to work full time. And then she died when I was 20, but she became a really successful saleswoman. So at her funeral, when I was 20 years old, they were glorifying my mother as this amazing saleswoman. And what I had anchored it to was death. And so as soon as I cleared it, I had just got excited about selling, and it's been really fun since then. I haven't done a lot yet, but I know I've got this whole new energy, and just getting just my energy before a call is so much more excited than fearful, if that makes sense. So it's really fun. And I wanted to ask you too, you were talking earlier about all these things that get in the way. What percent are we aware of these things going on in our mind, would you say?
I would say it's 5% or less.
My God.
I mean,
Unless we've done a lot of work.
as far as consciously, you know, the conscious mind's 5%. They say somewhere between 98 to 95 or 94% is the unconscious, you know, the programs, the software that's just running our body, beating our heart, breathing us, all of that. And I'd say that most people, I'd say society has done a pretty good job of training us to be pretty unconscious.
Yeah. And also the people don't even realize that it's not even this life, necessarily this lifetime. So with quantum time technique that we've been talking about, we're talking about a program that could be running from the womb. It could also be running from your ancestors. We've seen people have visceral reactions to money, to success, to, entrepreneurship, because maybe an ancestor had some sort of business and it was taken away. And so all of that was programmed through the DNA. And so then they're carrying around this weight of somebody that's not even here anymore, or their knee-jerk reflex to something that isn't even theirs. We also carry negative emotions from our ancestors. And then if your audience believes in past lives, there's 50% of the population of the world believes in past lives. That's another consideration. So the timeline, you can go back, let go of belief systems, let go of trauma from past lives and genealogical, and you can become free of that stuff. And the cool thing is that you're not only free, but you have the wisdom. And so you have access to the Akashic records through your timeline, the quantum timeline. And it gives you resources and tools and wisdoms that then catapults you and quantum leaps you into the success that you want to have. It also changes what's going on in your environment in the now, which I'm sure that you've seen, and you've probably seen from other students in the training and their success stories, that once they release something, automatically the universe responds and their environment changes, which is really cool.
Well, it's just like your beautiful story too, Olivia, about, your mother and how you anchored sales to death. That's exactly how all limitations, beliefs, doubts, all of that's created and programmed deep inside of us, from birth and before birth.
Yeah. I mean, then we have this lifetime of all of the stuff that we can remember. And then some of the stuff we don't even remember. It's really interesting because when we get into the training, they'll have the conscious mind stuff that, failures or whatever that they had in the past, or their upbringing around money, the blueprint. Then there's a lot of stuff when we start asking the unconscious mind,
which is all recorded at the unconscious level. And that's made that isn't to say we've forgotten about it. We may have forgotten about it, but that doesn't mean it's not there.
Yeah, it's the program that's running at the unconscious level. When we ask what is the root cause of the, quote unquote, limiting belief or decision or block or whatever, and it'll take people to a completely different place than they consciously think, which is fascinating and super fun.
That's great. Well, and you were speaking about how it can be generational. I was asking my daughter what stuff she cleared because I was noticing shifts, and I think some of it came from what she healed, right?
Yeah.
So it makes sense that if she went back, and I've done, energy work, like in cases where the people involved get affected by what we do in these different processes, that it can change people in our community or our family without having them even know about it. So
yep, absolutely.
Very, very interesting. So tell me a little bit. I love the the way you teach using metaphors and how you teach us to use metaphors. I'd love you to share a little bit about your philosophy and the origins of that.
It's kind of like farming. It takes a little while, to cultivate a great crop and be able to provide for all the people in your community. And it's kind of like that. It takes time. And sometimes it doesn't need to be as direct, but it's a little bit more permissive approach for those people that like stories.
Exactly. I mean, a metaphor is like a seed that you plant for the harvest later. And sometimes it will harvest 2 seasons.
Sometimes it's right away.
Harvest right away.
Sometimes it takes months, maybe even years to percolate.
Yeah. So the modeling modelers of NLP, I mean, NLP is a model of modeling. And so they went around and modeled these different models of human beings doing excellent work, one of which was Dr. Milton Erickson. And he was the grandfather of hypnosis in America. He was considered the American shaman. He has a beautiful story. And part of his philosophy was metaphors. He would have a client, he was a medical doctor and a psychiatrist. He would have clients come in for some sort of symptomology or some sort of behavioral issue, and he would tell stories, sometimes 4 or 5 stories, back-to-back open loops, where the client would go into trance. By the way, when you're telling a story,
Just
you
relax,
put them into trance.
Just a relaxed state.
And their unconscious mind, the conscious mind would be put on the shelf when they're hearing the story, and the unconscious mind is engaged and living the story. And the cool thing is that even if the story, let's say that the patient came in for weight loss, if he told a story about tomatoes in a garden, taking in the right nutrients to be the right size.
He said, what's special about the tomato plant? It always knows how to take in the right amount of nutrients, the right amount of minerals and water and fertilizer.
To be the perfect size.
The right amount of nutrients.
For the tomato plant.
To be the perfect size tomato.
And so, the client would come into the office and scratch their head. They're like, oh my gosh, all we did is talk about mystical creatures and talk about tomato plants. I don't get it. They're unconscious minded.
Their unconscious mind gets it.
Mm-hmm.
And magically, weeks, sometimes months, the clients would start to experience results of what happened months earlier.
So you can use it in the context of coaching. It's very, very powerful. In fact, if you're going to be a successful coach, we recommend to our coaches creating metaphors for every challenge their avatar has. And it's also very important in the context of sales.
Because you know what I found, Olivia? I found that for the direct clients that like direction, they like to be told a little bit more direct, like this is the way. But for the other, they need more of a permissive approach. I found through behavioral calibration that when you say, do you know what your problem is?
That doesn't work.
It doesn't really work so well.
The walls go up, right?
They need a little more metaphors. They need to be kind of loosened up to the model of their world.
It's a permissive way. And if you look at it from a neuroscience point of view, the unconscious mind doesn't know the difference between a movie or anything that's outside the reality. It's the mirror neuron effect. And so when a client is going through a story with you, they're firing and wiring as if it's real time right now. And so it's a form of hypnosis. And so you can install strategies of success through metaphors. It's great with kids. It's also great if you have a spouse or a partner that is not on the same page with you and isn't open to coaching and isn't open to doing personal growth and development. You pepper in a couple of metaphors if they're in a challenge state, and voila, their unconscious mind transforms. It's also very imperative, and this is one of the things we teach in our higher level training, which is our NLP trainers training. It's also a speaker training, is how to utilize it on stage. If you haven't noticed, the best speakers in the world have dialed in their stories. They open up with stories, they put the content in the middle, and they close out with stories. And that is by intention. Even
great comedians, actors, actresses, it's done pretty much anywhere where there's a stage.
Yeah. So you can use it also in sales.
Yep.
I mean, the application is endless.
It's perfect for business.
Yeah, you could use it in sales with your clients. And I come from a background of being a technical person, a data scientist and statistician. So I'm not used to, or I wasn't used to metaphors, but now I find it to be really fun, and it can incorporate all the imagination we want to bring in. And one of the things I loved in your training was how you would tell the stories at the beginning and leave them a bit in suspense until the end. I don't want to give away the magic, but it was just so.
And then we close them at the end.
Yeah, we don't.
Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't.
And I feel like even just in terms of sales, maybe even sales isn't the right word, because it's really like you're inviting somebody to become part of your family.
Right.
You're so generous with what you teach, how you support us, and just how much you know is, it's really lacking out there. So I'm excited to just share about you guys and your company and be supported by you and help people that I know get in and get help and learn from you as well. Let me just see if I want to check my questions and see if there were any other ones that I thought I'd like to.
Thank you so much, Olivia.
Yeah, we're excited for you to be a part of the community, creating your magic and your content so we can learn from you as well, because we are not the only teachers. You are too, and you're part of that community, and you're serving all of the community by your greatness. So
thank you.
As a whole, when we lift all of our communities up,
yes.
I mean, that's really how we're going to make a dent and transform this planet. Because if you haven't noticed, you kind of look around.
What's going on out there?
Yeah.
It's a little cuckoo.
And I feel like people are going to be looking to people like us that can tap into not just what we know, but how we can engage people in a way that they feel safe and invited. And that's what I feel like this all teaches us, is how to know the whole thing about, we learn right about eye movement and how we can tell that by that and the way people talk, what will engage them and what will get them, so that when we're bringing them into a sales meeting, it's just more like an invitation. And of course, we have ways of helping them get past their limits. But if they're ready, it'll work, with this.
Well, I think that's what, that's the mission we are all on, right? Is to be able to have difficult conversations around uncomfortable topics and be able to have this speakability, this rhetoric that we can carry on a conversation with other individuals. Maybe if we even share different mindsets, different viewpoints, but still be able to have this emotional intelligence, this rationality to be able to talk about it. And I think that's where we've gotten really off course in the last 20 years, is nobody can really say anything without somebody flying off the handle, instead of being able to process this information from a level neutral, standpoint, and be able to have an intelligent conversation, the pros and the cons, and hear each other out. And that's what we're on that mission to get back get back on track.
Yeah. I mean, the majority of our training, if you really want to get down to the deepest level, is teaching people how to critically think. It's
a critically thinking process.
Yeah. Because a lot of people, are blinded by our emotions that are getting in the way from us actually really seeing what's going on.
Yeah. Wow. That's great. And one of the things as well that's really brought me into your community is that you do care about raising all boats and helping the world. And that's really what I'm about. So it was so exciting for me to find you guys being so knowledgeable and in ways that could help me and also help all of us make a big difference in the world, really have a huge impact. So I want to thank you. And can you tell us, you have a training coming up, a 3-day training in a couple of weeks, but you have them pretty often. So maybe you could talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a 3-day, it's a 3-day business breakthrough. And it's really helping business owners, entrepreneurs, and coaches. Really even for just especially coaches. Our niche and our specialty really is coaches.
Coaches, facilitators, like workers, healers, anybody that's in the entrepreneurial space. If you're doing, if you have a product or a service that is making an impact, we can help you monetize it in a deeper way.
And even if you don't have a business and you are in the corporate world, or you're looking to get away from maybe a business or a job and you want to transition into entrepreneurship or coaching.
One of our avatars is actually leaving the corporate and then starting the passionate business that you've been looking for all your life. A lot of our people are people that are like, I've always wanted to serve at a deeper level, but I just don't have the tools. I don't have the framework, and I don't know how to start.
Yep.
And so we help people through that process to create success.
And really it's for business owners, coaches that are looking for tools, new tools to communicate at the highest, most effective level to get results fast, make more money, and make a massive impact.
We're also going to teach you skill sets to be able to communicate in a way that whoever you're really here to serve will be attracted to you like a magnet. We're also going to give you a way to let go of all the shit that is holding you back from really truly stepping in your power consistently. So a lot of times we see in entrepreneurship, people get super motivated and then they lose their motivation. And this is like this yo-yo effect. So we need to give you tools to be able to inspire and motivate yourself at will. We're also going to help you let go of any sales blocks and money blocks of the conversation of acquisition of client, and a really, really powerful strategy to how to take somebody from the discovery close or discovery call all the way to the conscious close. The reason why I say conscious close is because we believe that closing is very, very important. And you need to know how to do it. And you also need to know how to do it from a conscious aspect to where you're thinking with ecology and you're able to lean into those sales objections because it is ecological for sometimes you to push up against their boundaries. And the last day we tie it all together and teach you how to sell from stage.
That's great. Yeah, that's great. And I feel like it's all done with an open heart too, which is so beautiful. This, a lot of love. Well, again, thank you. If you are watching and you would like information, go to nlpgift.com and there's a link to the training, a link to all the Yager offerings, and a free ebook called 5 Steps to Finding Your Ideal Client. So Deb and Brandon, thank you again for joining Your Wisdom Matters, and I wish you a wonderful day. Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks, Olivia.